The reason I started the charity is essentially because I don't want people to get to where I had got to. Yeah, so we're going well. Our team has grown, but it's off the back of contracts we had on just before COVID hit. So I was fortunate enough. And when it did hit, it was kind of revisiting immediately those current contracts and then negotiating how it's going to look for the next 4 months. So we put I put like COVID action plans together for all of our contracts, which allowed, I guess, the security of our funders and people supporting our program to know that, okay, we're not going anywhere. We're still here. We can still be relevant, and this is the role we can play during this time. So a lot of them finish up kind of mid-August, and then we should hopefully be back to some normality where we can look at rolling it over into the original funding agreements.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But I guess this is one of those times now more than ever, mental health is so important, and having these conversations needs to continue regardless of what's going on in the world.
Exactly. Yeah, we're seeing now, I think, that ripple effect probably when it first kicked off, 3 months ago here in Australia. I was starting to see that impact it's having on people's mental health, especially with the rates we're seeing with, visits to support, so services, but also suicide, which is, the unfortunate event off the back of such unknown times. And people really some people embrace change, but majority of us really aren't really adapted to it. And for that, for many, you combine that with financial stress, it's going to impact family. There's a lot of things that come into play in a really short period of time.
Yeah.
It can force people to have some challenges for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now it's really important.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I feel like going into round 2, like we kind of got a little glimpse of.
Yeah, it's a tease, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like, carrot on a string, and then back it comes, and you got to reset yourself. And like, I know I went.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of small business, Kiani, in that position, and you and I are in that mold as well. So we had to really look at where we are, like any business, or we're a charity, but we had to take stock. We had to look at how can we cut cost without people losing their jobs. So we're able to make some adjustments there. Fortunate thing for us is that, again, our staff got to keep all their jobs. So that was my priority during this time. I wasn't too concerned about our deliverables. It was more about how can I keep our people safe mentally now, knowing that they've got some structure still, because we didn't know how long this was going to go out for. And, here in Victoria, it's been a lot longer than others.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess you guys, your team, yourself, you are the support for so many other people. So your mental health and your stability and your safety is paramount to everything and the hard work that you all put in day in, day out.
Yeah, that immediate reaction to COVID was a really stressful point for not just our organisation, but predominantly the mental health industry. Us being predominantly in sport, that's our core industry here in Victoria. All community sport, it doesn't exist now for winter. And I think a lot of young men, especially from 17 to 25, probably misunderstood and misappreciated what community sport does for them. So it's their outlet. It's something that they can get away from work or get out of home and go hang around all your mates and just kind of declutter a little bit. Yeah. And now a lot of them don't have that. So off the back of that, we had many sporting clubs coming to us looking for direction. What do we do? How do we support? So immediately we put in, again, a COVID action plan for our internal team. And then we developed as many like free resources as we could, everywhere from articles right through to podcasting, through to our giving access to our welfare team. So through our app, making sure that we had the resourcing in that area of our business to make sure that it was going to take on that influx, which generally it happened quite rapidly, and it continues to do it. If so, it's actually getting more now than what it was, a month or two into it, because we're seeing now that kind of longevity effect that it's having on people. Yeah.
And look, I mean, we need to celebrate the benefits that are coming from such a devastating time. So where there are charities, businesses, corporations out there that can benefit from this, and your benefit is astronomically more beneficial for the community than, I guess, my business, my small business, because mine's a service-based business, whereas yours is giving those younger people and even older people mental strength just to survive. So, hearing that this is a great time for you guys is it's an important message, especially for people out there who are losing hope, I suppose, too.
Yeah, that's it. And I guess the point you made there is, you underestimate the impact perhaps your job can have on people and the service that you provide, because no doubt there's a stressful period for people trying to settle houses, trying to get that over the line because they're just so concerned about their money and what things going on. So even that has a ripple effect into mental health. There's no way, two ways about it. And having been in that personally myself, trying to settle certain things at times, it's quite frustrating, and it has been extremely frustrating. Banks being on pause for pretty much 2 months and not hearing back from anyone. So don't underestimate the role that you've played and your team plays on people. For us, so we deal with people's feelings and emotions every day, which during this pandemic, whatever we call it, we find ourselves in, it's high strung and people are very stressed, and dealing with that at times has been tough. But look, it's always about, I think, the narrative we can control. And this is one of the frustrations I feel that we have as a community on the media, is around that narrative and what they're displaying to us as people watching it online or on the news at home, is that we hear things that they want to create that narrative around, that real kind of fear around where we are, where I guess our role is to try and bring it into perspective and take the opportunity, as you said, to how can we take this time to look at things that we appreciate more, such as perhaps family and connection, looking at what do we want to do for work now moving forward that perhaps we don't have a job anymore. So there are ways that we can control and be responsible for how we perceive things, but we also understand that it's a very difficult time for many, and it's all good to say, give it perspective, but trying to tell that to someone who's lost their job, unsure about what's going on in their lives, a really difficult thing to harness. So you've got to wrap your arms around as many people as you can, but giving them those tools for them themselves to take some responsibility to create that kind of perspective change.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I tell you what, when this is over, I'm hugging a random stranger on the street.
I know, right?
I need a hug sometimes.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. And, I guess there's a lot of things at the moment that we can't control. But, personally, internally as a human, there are things that we can control. And when we don't know where to go, there's places to go and seek help. So if people need that help, go and find the support, and there's places out there that are doing exactly that, such as yours. So
yeah, there are. And I mean, I think the government federally have done a terrific job in trying to provide as good and as clean as process as we can for that. There's a lot of terrific telehealth available now, so people can jump on, large organisations who are resourced to offer, like Beyond Blue and Lifeline has been supported financially over this time as well. So there are resources that are available, but again, there is a lot that we can do as people. That we, for example, it's easy at this point in time for us to lose our routine and structure. It's easier to stay up late. It's easier to sleep in at the moment. So you've got to have a really disciplined outlook on your mind health around getting good sleep, getting up at the same time as close as you can every day, getting out and getting active, depending on the restrictions, eating good food. Don't get caught up in, alcohol abuse, because we know that nearly 70% of alcohol consumption, it's gone up 70% over this time.
Yeah, wow.
Purchasing, that is. So we know that it's easy for us to kind of fall into those really bad habits just because we're forced to be at home. But when you look at it for what it is, we can do some pretty important stuff for ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. That part of control that we have left, which is good. So speaking of outside the locker room, I've been fortunate enough to know you for a little while now, and I've heard your story many times, and it is a very touching story, and I think it's a really relevant story that sits behind the charity and everything that you guys do in terms of supporting communities, mental health, suicide prevention and things like that. But I guess if you were able to go back and give that younger you who was trapped inside of your brain any advice from who you are now, what would that be? Because I would imagine there's a lot of people sitting in that exact same mindset right now.
Yeah, it's certainly, I'm 32 years of age now, and look back when I was diagnosed at 19, I always constantly think about what I would say, Kiani, to myself at 19. If I had the chance to do that, I guess I would sit there and create the environment for that young man to feel safe, to feel supported, to know that it's okay to feel the way that he was feeling at that time, and not to be scared and to be fearful of what people would think about what he was going through, and encourage him to seek help sooner. And not only just seek help, but really buy into that help, really understand that that's such a really key element that's going to ensure that I actually avoid what I went through post my football career. And the reason I started the charity is essentially because I don't want people to get to where I had got to. And it's all about prevention and early education. So, but I would also say to him that if nothing does change in terms of my behavior at that time and what I did, everything's going to be fine, mate.
Yeah.
No, everything is going to be okay. Like, I never ever thought at 17 to 23, 24 that I'd be running a charity.
Yeah.
I always looked at
that.
Yeah, it's incredible how things have worked out, and life will push you in certain directions. So I feel like I don't kind of want to say that. People always ask me about, do you have regrets? Would you change things? And I do. There's certain things that I would change because I don't want people to go through that. But I felt like I had to go through all that in order to be where I am today. So to take that experience and turn it around and have some kind of legacy now with the charity is something that I'm very proud of. So I don't want to contradict it by saying, I do have regret, but I also understand that, hey, someone's got to go through these things, right, in order to make it good, I guess.
Yeah. No, and also someone's got to come out of doing that with enough courage to talk about it, share, and hopefully pass on that lesson to others. And I think you're totally right. Like, it might be a contradiction, but really everything in life's a bloody contradiction. But, we can go back and say as much as we want to say, but you're right. You would not be who you are today if you had not have gone through those trials and tribulations that you did back then.
Yeah. And even today, there's not a day that goes past that I don't think about those really difficult times. There's not a day that goes past I don't think about that moment when, I tried to take my own life. And it's something that I've been able to use as a real motivator to continue to keep me going, because running a charity, you wouldn't get into running charities if you were focused on making money and being successful in the eyes. Yeah, in having time. Exactly. So you've got to really want to do this stuff because you're passionate about it and you love it. And that's easy at the very beginning because it's all exciting and it's fun and it's new. But then, as you know, when you're 3-4 years in and you feel like you're getting nowhere, it's easy for people just to pull the pin because that's what sane people would do, right? Just go to the job and make it easier. But that real core belief for me has been, the money isn't obviously the priority here. It's saving people's lives. And it's been easy for me to kind of get over my own story, or it's too hard when you can quickly jump to the fact that, mate, you don't want anyone to be where you were. And it's like, okay, let's get on with it.
Yeah.
Pretty easy to move forward on that. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, I think you're right. Even when we deal with certain issues or situations or circumstances that have happened to us, we don't forget about them. It's not like we close the door and they're done and dusted forever. We never feel that way again. But it's when they do come up, it's acknowledging them and giving them space and then going, all right, what have I learned from this? And how am I going to use that to help other people? And that's exactly what you've done. You've helped other people's lives in many more ways than you would ever imagine, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I mean, that's like dealing with trauma, and we've all in some way, shape of our lives, experienced forms of trauma, and we all deal with it very differently. When I first started the charity, I think I was so proactive in getting out there and just talking about it. I never kind of thought, how's this going to impact me? It was more kind of, I've got to do this to help people. And along the journey, that in itself has been challenging as well, because being an former AFL player, talking about mental health, which is 4 or 5 years ago was still such a taboo subject. And then you go on media outlets and start talking about it on a national scale. All of a sudden, you put your life out for everyone everywhere to know the most deepest and scariest moments of who you are. So I didn't realize it, but that did have an impact on me, at the end of probably the second, third year of running the program. And I had to take a step back. I never lost connection with the program, but I had to take some reflection on it and reinvigorate myself again, because my identity was pigeonholed into that mental health guy.
Yeah.
I had to kind of step away from that and go, well, I feel like I'm much more than that. I can actually, I've built a business. It's across Australia. It's something very business-like, entrepreneurial-like. That's something that I want to be known for. So we all go through different stages of trauma and how we've dealt with it and how we've used it. And for me, it's just that's been a consistently fallback on is, again, bringing things into perspective for me, looking at where I have been, because I've had no money. I've slept in my car for 2 weeks. It's these things don't motivate me.
Yeah.
Go out and work anymore. I'm motivated now by legacy. I'm motivated now by I'm going to step away from this in the next probably 12 months, 18 months, leaving it in the best possible shape that it can be ready for someone to take over. Those things motivate me and family, So it changes as you get older, as you know, as priorities change.
It really does. It really does. As we grow older, we get wiser, hopefully.
Well, that's the idea. I'm not sure. Some decisions are questionable.
Well, we all make mistakes, don't we? That's fine. But I guess it's learning from them. That's the important part. But look, it's a really important message that now more than ever needs to be told. So thank you very much for being honest with that. And so you did bring up the fact that you're trying to or potentially transitioning out. What's next?
That's a great question. I wish I could answer that fully, but I've got a few things on the horizon that are exciting opportunities and that I'll be exploring over the next 6 months. But
for your TV debut with Dipper?
Yeah, so I mean that's something I definitely want to get into more as that kind of media stuff, and looking at opportunities that fall in and around that kind of industry. But COVID's obviously had an impact on that development, but there's an immediate opportunity there that I will explore. But I'll always be involved in the charity. I'll always be a board member. I'll always be the founder of what we do here, and I'll always have a finger in somewhere doing something as well. It is my baby. Yeah, it's something I'm very, very proud of. And then, but yeah, I've got a clothing label that I really want to spend more time on and help grow. I've got another little side project which is called Sonic Minds, which is all about people anywhere can actually pick artists to write music with. So it's kind of mental health therapy, which is really cool.
You resonate a lot with music, don't you?
Yeah, I love it. I go in my office, I play guitar.
Can you play something?
Well, now I might play something for you a bit later.
Okay.
But yeah, so music for me is my outlet. So it makes sense for me to get into other interests around that. Again, it's what I'm passionate about. I call these passion projects. They're not really making me money at all.
Yeah.
But at some point, hopefully down the track they will. And I've got another couple little things going on as well, little projects I'm getting involved in, just as kind of owning percentages of things here and there that I want to kind of dabble in and see where they all go.
Well, that's really exciting because, as we know, when we run a business, whether it's a charity or a fully fledged, profitable, well, not profitable, but not for profit business, we get absorbed by it. We get absolutely absorbed by it, and it is hard to find the balance between work and personal, having relationships, family, friends, all those kinds of things. So, and I know this business absolutely absorbed you for a long time too. How did you deal with the balance?
Yeah, I think I'm still dealing with it, to be honest. I always used to think that I felt bad for working too much. And people would say to me, "Oh, you got to have a balance, Jack. You got to do this and that." And I'd always try and find a balance. But by me removing myself from work, the thing that I love, it actually created more anxiety and stress in me because I felt like I wasn't working hard enough. I felt like I wasn't doing enough. So I realized kind of a couple of years ago that it's okay to work hard and put your head into things and help them grow and prosper. But I guess over the last probably 12 months, it's been more of having set it up to a point now where I have been able to step away a little bit. I've been able now to focus on other, passions and other projects and things like that. So, but I have a pretty strict routine and structure around my life. So, there's no such thing as, a 9 to 5 operation when you run your own thing. So it's very common for me to be sitting here. Like an hour ago, I was playing the guitar for half an hour. So I'll kind of jump around a little bit. I've been able to navigate it. A lot of people can't do that. But I actually like to be a little bit spontaneous and a bit random with how my daily routines are. But there are a few things that I stick to, getting out of bed same time, being active all the time. So doing exercise every day. Definitely music for me gives me the biggest balance that I can have in my life. So I write lyrics, I write music, I play music, I listen to it, I sing it really badly.
A for effort, don't worry.
Yeah, that's right. And I never claimed to be a great singer. So for me, it's just that meditation that I need. And it's something that you can do anytime, anywhere.
Yeah.
Driving in the car, at home, in the office, wherever.
The minute I see a gap in my calendar, got my big puffer jacket on, headphones in, music blaring, and just walk for that 15, 20 minutes, whatever it is.
Yeah, well, it's actually it's therapy. Like there's a thing to it. So that Sonic Minds business that I'm getting involved in, the reason we're doing it is the main core philanthropic part of it is to get disengaged youth into writing music and helping them kind of recover from their story and their journeys. Because the best artists in the world all had struggles and whether it's their upbringing and their drug and alcohol issues or whatever it is. So lyrically, it's inspiring to see some of the stuff. And I'm working with a couple of kids at the moment where you read some of the stuff and you go, wow, if I can get a decent beat to this, it's actually going to be quite great music. So off the back of that, it's about that brand will become a label as well. So we will identify talent at the early stages and then we'll kind of, I guess, support them.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. It really is. It is therapy, absolutely. And it's funny. Sometimes I'll go, oh, no, I can't think of a song that I want to listen to, so I'll just listen to silence. But then other times, depending on my mood, I can always find a song where the lyrics are just like perfect. I'm like, oh, you've literally fallen out of the sky and landed in my lap. That's exactly how I'm feeling.
Great, isn't it? Yeah. And that's the power of music. I tend to listen to kind of more hardcore metal music. For those who follow me on Instagram, you've got no idea what's going on. It's always, I always say that if you took the time to Google the lyrics and read them, that 98% of people could relate to what they're saying. But you can't hear them when they're singing it. That's the main problem.
Yeah, I've tried to listen a couple of times and
not quite.
Can't quite understand. But you're right. It's almost like in that moment, someone else knows what you're going through and is feeling what you're going through, and you're not alone.
Yeah, and you couldn't have said it any better. And for me, someone who does have a mental health illness, being depression, anxiety, those are the times that I cherish the most, when I'm by myself and I feel more a part of something than I do when I'm in a crowd of people. Yeah. Like I could walk into and do a talk at a large corporate with 200-300 people and not want to be there and be freaking out. I could be sitting at home with no one around me for the next 2 days and just listen to music and feel nothing but content and feel pure connection. So that's the power of music for me.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's a magical thing. I definitely resonate with that 100%.
Yeah. And your sister's a DJ, so you know that it runs in the family.
Yeah.
So,
I'll listen. She can do the technical stuff.
Listen and dance. Oh, questionable. Yeah.
Terribly. We'll see. No, but you're right. And I think everyone's got their little things that fill their cup, as to say. And you're right. Music is ours. So I think we're lucky.
Yeah. The trick with that you mentioned about the cup thing is just identifying when your cup is actually decreasing and not allowing it to get to a level where it becomes critical.
Yeah.
So again, as you get older, you start becoming more experienced identifying your emotional well-being. But it's about, now I'm not feeling so great. I need to take a step away, do this, pick a guitar up, listen to music, whatever it is. Like you mentioned, jacket, earphones, walk. For you, that's your little up we go. It's about identifying your little up you go.
Absolutely. Sometimes I get to a point though where I'm like, all right, I'm not feeling great right now. So I'm going to allow myself to just lay on the couch and not feel great.
Yeah, yeah. And
And
in the past, being a business owner, have you felt really guilty for that?
oh, wow.
Yeah, same.
I would feel guilty for even like going to Pilates or going to the gym or anything that meant that I wasn't working because
Yeah,
that was my job and that was what I had to do. And
yeah. I couldn't agree anymore. I used to feel like that all the time.
mm,
But then I realized that if I just focus 3 hours a day on my work and give real strong focus those 3 hours, I can be far more productive in those 3 hours than what I would be sitting from 7 till 6 p.m. at night, just kind of trying to find what I'm doing and where I'm going. Be more relaxed with that, with my work. And that's been reflection on the work. We're getting more stuff done more efficiently, more effectively, because I guess it's focused work rather than being kind of here, there, everywhere.
but we're also making sure that our cup is being filled in the back end, which we wouldn't have been doing before. There's no way. I wouldn't have taken an hour to eat lunch, let alone sit and meditate for 20 minutes.
Yeah, and
In the middle of the day.
well, you'd be the same, and I imagine most of the people watching this, who follow your work, would be. We kind of grew up in an era where it was Tony Robbins type of stuff. It was much, if you're sleeping, you're missing out. You know what I mean? If you're not up,
First, you're last.
yeah, all those type of things, and that was really drilled in me. And as an athlete, it's the same. It's more. Like if you have to be the first there, last to leave. Like that's the type of mentality which is great for business in a lot of ways because you need to be committed, dedicated, hardworking, all those things. But I found that it brainwashed me for a period, kind of at one point, thinking that I had to be relentlessly overworked in order to create success. But over the last 12 months, again, I've appreciated that, that time for you is just as important in order to have that real effective approach and focus for work.
Oh, 100%. And I think you're right. It's the way that I was told that a small business owner was supposed to live.
Yeah.
You work your ass off and do everything you possibly can and, feed everybody else first and then you're last. Whereas that was where I very much dropped the ball in terms of how am I going to survive doing this? Because it wasn't sustainable. And I got so sick. I had glandular fever and was out for months. And then all of a sudden, things were still working while I wasn't there. It was amazing.
Hold on here. Hang on a minute. Something broken.
There's something wrong here. Oh, wait, it's me. I'm doing too much.
Oh, yeah. I found that out. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. But it's learning and being able to give yourself give yourself a little pat on the back and go, right, you're doing a good job, but you could probably do a better job by doing X, Y, and Z. And part of that is that self-love and self-care.
Yeah, definitely. And again, everyone's very different. So my team who work for me, their diaries are like back to back. Like they know exactly what they're doing each minute of the day. Where my stuff's open so much. Like I like jumping around. Yeah. That actually gives me energy. And when I'm at home in my own space, I'm very much, I'm a bit of a, what do you call it? A loner in a lot of ways. Like I like to be by myself, doing my own thing in that creative space. Yeah. But then in work, it's very much kind of, go, short period of time and jump around. And all my staff look at me like, I don't know how you do it. You hear 1 minute, the next. It's like, well, that actually gives me energy. Yeah. And some people, it would freak them out.
But that's what I really enjoyed. And we had very similar roles for a very long time in terms of the face of the business, the BDM essentially, where you had to meet people. So you'd be in a meeting 1 minute, then you'd be at a coffee, and then you'd have to sit down and do a couple of emails. And you were all over the place. And I love that. I get bored quite easily. So I need that constant kind of stimulation. And you're right, it's exciting.
The one thing that I think I've really enjoyed running a charity and growing a charity is kind of selling a message. So the message that we sell is obviously a really important one. I'm not trying to sell you a car, for example. I'm trying to sell you saving lives, which everyone can really resonate and connect with. So for me, it's about using that purpose to really value people to make change themselves, And through that process, it's enabled us to get, the funding that we've needed to run this organization at a really high level.
Yeah.
So that's something I've really enjoyed over the last couple of years, is getting out there, meeting people, networking, relationships, because it's 101 when it comes to running a successful business or charity. It's people.
Yeah.
It's who you know. It's not what you know. I've heard a lot of people come into this organization who know a lot of things, but generally they don't fit. So, I really enjoy the whole, and that's what probably the biggest challenge for me during this COVID time, is that I haven't actually been able to kind of use that in my inventory as much as I probably have in the past.
Yeah.
Been more consolidating what we have, not being able to grow during the time, which again for me is quite frustrating, but it'll come around.
It will. And look, I mean, I think that the theme of what's going on at the moment is certain things just have to be put on hold.
Yeah.
And we just have to, batten down the hatches, do what we can to survive, feed the people around us that need to be fed, and be the leaders.
You'd probably see it in your clients as well, the stress, the financial stress, trying to settle houses, trying to hear back from banks, you trying to get that to, I know with my personal example, it's kind of like when and how and what's going on here most of the time. But for us, it's the same thing. You're dealing with people every day. So you've got to be really empathetic and understanding of things. And, some things do need to stop for us to take stock. That's not a bad thing.
No, I don't think so either. I think there's a big global reset that's just happened. And if anything, it's forced us to reassess the way that we're living our lives and what's important to us and what the priorities need to be or should be. It's given people an opportunity to go, oh, you know what, I didn't really like that job anyway, but it was putting food on the table. So what do I really want to do?
Yeah.
What do I want to be when I grow up? They're important questions, but we get so wrapped up in everyday life that we don't have a chance to ask them.
And there's across the board when it comes to kind of emotional stress, there's 3 areas that people probably really don't identify with but have the biggest impact on our lives. The first one is relationships, so the people in our life. The next one is career, because you're spending 8-7 hours a day, doing something for work. And next one's financial. And they all play in together. And if any of those 3 areas, those pillars, aren't, great, or they're not thriving in your way, you're gonna be impacted. So you can have a great job, but if your relationships at home and that are poor, it's not the same.
Yeah, you're right.
So you've got to have those 3 areas, financial, and that could be anything for anyone differently. Some people want to make a crap load of money and they're doing that, and that's great.
Yeah.
But if you want to make a crap load of money and you're working in a charity, then that's generally probably not going to fit well with you. You know what I mean? You want to make a crap load of money, get into real estate, go do something like that. But also,
maybe not at the moment, but
arguably, but you've got to have good people around you supporting that too. Because if you don't have that around, I've found personally, if you don't have people around you that are supporting and thriving, encouraging you to thrive with your goals, your career can be great. You can be making good money, but if you don't have people around you who support that, those 2 things, in my experience, mean nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, it can be like the domino effect.
It really is, yeah.
That one falls down, which impacts another and impacts another, and all of a sudden your whole world's in turmoil.
Yeah.
It's scary. And I mean, I think it's happened to a lot of people that I've known. It's happened to me 100%. And it's life and it sucks. But I guess it's learning from it when it happens and then going, all right, what do I do differently so that it doesn't happen again?
Yeah, that's right. And there are a lot of learnings through this period, as we've spoken about. There's also great opportunity. And again, it's hard to tell someone that who's lost a lot, but you really have to encourage them to see that. The narrative around hope is a really important component of everything in our lives. So for me, the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is that I'll put on, there's a couple of people that I listen to, and I wouldn't call them podcasts. They're more kind of positive psychology. So Eric Thomas is a guy who's more of a motivational speaker. And then that's quickly followed generally by someone who I really enjoy listening to is Russell Brand and his perspective on life and things. So the narrative around that hopeness around what you can create for me is really important.
Mm.
And people now, as you said, need to really take notice of that.
Mm.
It can set your day up, which generally is important. The other thing I think, a lot of people want to create a lot of success and change in their lives, but they don't make their bed.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing I do every morning is before I leave the house, my bed is always made. My house is always tidy.
Yeah.
And it's just something I have as part of me is more of an obsession perhaps, but it's kind of like I want to go out and do something in this world. I've got to be able just to make my bloody bed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so, but I don't have kids or anything like that. So
don't worry, I make my bed. I can't promise that my car is clean, but I make my bed.
I heard it. I heard this thing one day. It's on Facebook and YouTube everywhere. I'm sure people might have seen it. There's a Navy guy talking about that kind of psychology behind that.
David Goggins?
It could be. Yeah, maybe he talks about making your bed every morning because one, you set the intention for the day. You go into the wide world. Not every day is great. You have a shitty day.
Mm-hmm.
You come home, at least you're coming home to a made bed. Yeah. So there's a little success story there at the end of every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great analogy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's brilliant. And the little things like that we can latch onto, giving us hope. I mean, I'm one of those people where the placebo effect works really well with me. So if I'm going to go on a health kick or on a diet or something like that, I have to go and buy like a detox or some tablet that's going to make me do it, or, you know, something that I know. And I know it doesn't do anything, but my brain goes, you've committed. You know, you've committed to doing it, so you're doing it. So every kind of book I read, there's something that I take out of each book and I go, all right, I'm going to implement that so that it reminds me of what's in that whole book, because you know, I read a lot of books, so I'm not going to remember everything from every single one, but there's going to be one little snapshot that I take out of it that will make me remember it. And the bed thing, you're right, and it's getting up in the morning, that one little thing that can be, you walk in at the end of the night and also too, there's some calming effect to it. It's like having a tiny desk.
For sure. Yeah.
Oh, this is lovely. I'm going to sleep like a baby.
That's right. Unfortunately, understanding both each other's circumstances, we're generally doing it by ourselves.
And I don't wriggle much, so I can literally roll out and just pull it back over and I'm good.
Yeah. We're kind of set in our ways, Kiani. I'm not sure that's good. Hopefully it changes for the better, but you never know.
Plenty of time for adaptation. We're only young, really young.
That's right, we are.
All right, darling. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you'd like to share or cover off before we finish up?
Look, I think most mental health advocates and that talk about at the end of every story, article, video, whatever, it's just about encouraging people just to reach out and talk to those close to them. You and I both acknowledge people are going through difficult times at this point. And I know you've been interviewing people in business that have had their own challenges, and that ripple effects across the family and the community. So anyone listening, watching, hearing, we encourage you all to get some help if you need it. But also support your mates too, you know, reach out to them and ask them, hey, mate, you all right? How's things going? How's work? If you can help people, perhaps get some work or help them with the structure. That's just as important during this time. So, yeah, that'd be my last little message.
Yeah, I totally agree. There is nothing wrong with picking up the phone or shooting someone a text message and just saying, are you okay?